So Glorious Battle has been released. The day of release is a little over 9 hours since the event has been opened up. I've seen a lot of people very confused, quite frustrated in places because it's a bit too slow paced, they don't know what to do. So I'm just going to go over things a little bit now we know what's going on. A lot of things have been made clearer since Pioneer, now we can actually get our hands on it. And they've also changed quite a few things from Pioneer also. Now when you're entering the battlefield here, buffs will be taken from the world map. It works like Treasure Seeker in that sense. They won't lock on entry like AC or Siege of Winterfell. And you will have to keep stuff like Fervor or Dungeon Lords actively up if you want them active at the time. Also, army size increases don't work in this event. It's like Siege of Winterfell in that sense. They did work on Pioneer actually, but they don't on Live, and that does limit whaling to an extent. Because obviously if you're using, say, an 100% march increase on a 900k army size, you're going up to 1.8 mil troops, but if you're using one on a 450k march, you're only going up to 900k, so army size increases really do exaggerate size differences, which then exaggerate stat imbalances, so that's a bit of a leveler there, which is positive. Now when you enter the map, you will have your faction base. You will always have this can't be taken from you. You see here, I am a Longreach Castle in the right here. This location, you'll always be able to trade at for 6,000 an hour efficiency. You will be able to trade at other locations for higher efficiencies when you get to them, at these merchant cities. So there's small merchant cities, medium merchant cities, and then there'll be large ones too, all the way up to 15,000 an hour on the large merchant cities. And this base location will also give you one Warhorn regenerated every 24 hours and also one Marching Bugle every 3 hours. You will be able to increase those, again, like trading with military locations throughout the map when you get to them. So there will be small, medium and large military cities, and they will give Marching Bugles and Warhorns, and then you'll be able to further increase the production of these with the construction system when that's released also. That currently isn't out, it gets unlocked after 24 hours of the event starting, so we don't quite know how that works yet. Now on the left here you can see your active marches on this arrow. You'll have to click on it for it to pop out. I've seen some people comment saying they can't do anything, they have insufficient queues. Click here, your marches are probably tied up somewhere. You've probably sent them trading and you don't know about the march limit, which is 2. At base, there are talents in the glory point system in administration, which will increase that up to I think 5 per military position. But you start with 2. On Pioneer this was actually only 1, so they've given you a bit more flexibility there right off the bat. And you will need these Marching Bugles to be able to do anything, to trade, to transport, to send offensive marches, defensive marches, and these will be limited in how many you have. They are much easier to get than Warhorns at least, but if you have 0 Marching Bugles, you will get like an error message saying insufficient Marching Bugles, and you won't be able to do anything until they've regenerated a little bit. And now, at the start, every faction begins with 4 Warhorns, and you can build out from your base with them right as soon as the event starts. The officials, I think, from the King's Landing Holding Alliance in every kingdom from your faction will be able to use Warhorns to declare war. Here with the declaration burn, with this declaration of war. Currently we don't have any, but that is how you declare war. When you do it on an NPC controlled location, or one held by the Glory faction as they describe it, it will start a 10-minute countdown and then start a 1-hour fight where you'll have to defeat all the defending troops and then fill the location with enough people to actually capture the location when they're all defeated. The more people inside the location, the faster you'll capture it. And if that hour times out because you took too long to kill all the NPC troops or you didn't fill it with enough people, you won't actually capture the location, the time will just run out on you. And because of that, you shouldn't just use the Warhorns willy-nilly, because they're so scarce and hard to get. If you waste them, you're really putting your faction behind in terms of base building. And when you declare war on a location held by an enemy faction, so say if I started war here, which I can't do obviously because it's miles away and there's not a road connecting it, but if I could, it would start a 10-hour countdown rather than 10 minutes, which will give time for defenders to fill the location up with their defensive marches, and then it will do the same thing. It will start a 1-hour fight, and I think that's where the true fun in this event will come from, is later on when you start getting those PvP situations, which we just can't quite experience yet at the time of recording. Obviously against the NPCs in that hour, when you defeat all the troops in there, that's that. But against actual players, they should be able to just keep sending reinforcements, which will give those fights more of a like an AC or a Siege of Winterfell feel, where it is the hour-long event after the 10-hour cooldown. But we'll need to see how that actually works in practice. So when that 10-minute countdown ends and it lets you send troops, you will send a solo attack march to the location to fight. It will come up with a circle like this, which I think says offensive, like it says defensive here if you don't hold it, and you'll then send your solo attack march and you'll then participate in the fight there. The combat system will be structured like the Army of the Dead Wall, and it will be first come, first serve. The first person who gets there will fight until they're knocked off, which regardless of troop losses will be after 6 fights with troop deaths if you're on the logistics military position, and 9 fights of troop deaths if you're on the offensive military position because of the resilience system. So it doesn't state this in the rules, but when you hit 0 resilience, your troops will be sent back. So you see here, offensive has 140 resilience limit and logistics 100, and then every battle with troop loss uses up 15 resilience at the end of battle. So logistics will be, I guess, 7 actually. 7 fights of troop loss and then you'll be sent back, and offensive will be 9 fights of troop loss and you'll then be sent back. If you want to keep fighting, you'll have to resend your march when it gets sent back, which can be difficult because of this marching bugle system, limiting how much you can just keep taking action on the map. There is, however, a bit of a, I don't know, exploitable mechanic, I'd say, where having 0 deaths will bypass the resilience losses, because it says here, every battle with troop loss uses up 15 resilience. So if I go out of here for a second, there is this dragon skill, the army reinforcement dragon skill, where this sends phantom troops, which all have to be killed until you have actual troop loss in a fight, and they all work as single fights, which means every single time you get in a fight, those phantom troops will be at 60k again. They won't get knocked down and down and down. So if you don't have a single fight where you have more than 60k defeated troops, you won't actually ever lose resilience, and because of that you'll see situations where a whale will just stick on the location and he will literally just fight until all the NPCs are dead. He'll go up to like an 800 kill streak and just kill everything by himself, which is very unfair realistically, especially with the rewards that are attached to eliminations. So you can see here, where are rewards? Individual eliminations, there are like 300 raffle tokens for first, total attack badges, and this castle skin which has 10% enemy casualty rate on it, which is really, really strong. And right now the individual rankings are just totally dominated to unreachable levels because of this dragon skill and how it works here. So hopefully they fix that. It shouldn't work against actual players in PvP, I think, because the losses will just be a little higher naturally, especially without army size increases working. but against NPCs it's absolutely busted. I cottoned onto it a little late and I was sending like tier 3 meat shielded marches where it messed it up. If I go into my reports here, you can see it's just like constant wins because I just never got knocked off. But here I sent tier 3s to meat shield and I ended up getting knocked off because of that. But when you just send one unit type, it will give 60k on the front line, and you see on the battle record it just offsets all the casualties every single time, and you'll just keep fighting over and over and over again, and you will just never be able to be knocked off basically, which is very unfair to the people that don't have that skill, and it isn't how it should work. The losses actually, especially for NPCs, seemed quite high actually. They seemed quite unforgiving. I know like another Marquis in my alliance ended up having 300,000 troops in their hospital just to heal, let alone the dead themselves, which is pretty crazy. I guess it's a bit like Treasure Seeker in that we'll have to see how it actually works in PvP combat. We just don't know yet. It's really hard to get specifics on that until we can get our hands on it. But that is basically the process right out of the bat. The faction leaders will declare war, the countdown has started for 10 minutes, and then when that countdown ends you will send your troops, and if it's an NPC location you'll fight until all the troops are dead, and if it's a PvP location you'll fight the other faction there. And obviously, if it's PvP, you'll also be in situations where you'll have to send defensively, like this, and you'll have to defend attacks through that. But on the offense, when you've killed everything, you'll then capture the location when there aren't enemy troops to fight in there. Think King of the Hill, if you've played games that include that before, or like Domination from Call of Duty, something like that. I'm not sure how many people will get those references. But that's basically how the capturing system works. You just need to fill it with people. It will go up to, I think, like a 1 million. And then after that, you're gated by warhorns, basically. So at this point, we can't do anything until we have another warhorn. And we'll get one at reset, and then we'll basically be in the same spot again as soon as we take one of these military positions. So it definitely starts slow, and you're really going to want to focus on building up your warhorn production, because until you have higher warhorn production you just won't be able to do much on the map. You won't be able to be very proactive at all because you'll just have to wait so long. So to get more warhorns you're going to need to be taking these military cities. These two next to your base will give one every 108 hours, and then if you push up, say like north up here, you'll then have to start fighting over more neutral positions to start getting more and more. So here will be another medium one, and then there'll be a large one which will be every 54 hours, and then you could push south again to this large one potentially, which again is another neutral location. You'll end up meeting potentially these bottom two, Scarlet Palace and Hall of Ages groups there. But I think that will be the main focus, is you're going to want to keep fighting for warhorn locations, and then use those warhorns to take over other parts of the map, and just keep snowballing through that. I think that's how you're going to get the most map control, because without the warhorns you just won't be able to do anything. You will also be able to increase your warhorn production through construction, which we haven't seen yet. That gets unlocked through world progression. So after 24 hours of the event starting, basically the construction system will be unlocked, and you will be able to do construction quests in military cities, or this military regime. Each quest completed will increase the city's speed of providing marching bugles and war horns by 10%. After city ownership is changed, 50% of the construction progress will be retained. So as far as I can see it right now, you're going to want to push out to these military positions, do construction quests when it's unlocked on the military positions too, and really start ramping up that Warhorn production and just expand your base as quick as possible through that. Get to the other Warhorn locations quicker than other factions, if at all possible. But for right this second, at the time of posting this video, pretty much all you can do is trade. Because without Warhorns, you can't fight. At least definitely not now, where these locations are bubbled, so other factions can't come and attack your locations either. When you can defend, you can maybe have some fighting when you don't have Warhorns, but it definitely starts slow, and I've seen people complain that it's boring, there's nothing to do. Sure, but it's a month-long event, remember. This isn't like a 1 hour event like AC, this isn't a 7-day event like ET or AM even. This is a month-long event, and things will get more and more interesting and fast-paced later when you build up your Warhorn production, and you can be more proactive on the map with that. You can attack other people's bases, you have to defend your own locations. It's really, really early days here, and honestly I do think this event is going to be very fun. I think people are being very harsh in it right now, honestly, with some of the stuff I've seen said about it. For sure that reinforcement dragon skill thing needs to be fixed, that's stupid, but it will probably only work against NPCs, and it shouldn't affect like the competitive integrity of the event itself to an excessive degree, I think, because like the NPCs would die anyway, more than likely, if you have like an actual balanced faction. The NPCs are fairly hard to kill, I guess, so it does give quite a big competitive advantage. Other than that, there were a few things that were changed compared to Pioneer, like the reward systems got revamped quite a bit. The raffle had royal badges removed, actually, which is a bit unfortunate. I think most people would have gone for the royal badges. I'm assuming people here will go for... I'm not entirely sure, actually. What will people go for? I feel like if Darius has leadership or combat rate in the tavern, people will go for his medals for sure. Pretty much everything on this wheel is really good. Friendship chests have increased in value since the tavern changes with the last update too, for like top accounts. Troop appearances are always good, I guess. I mean, you can do what you want, right? You can choose your will, which is just a good feature. They also changed the milestone rewards. These milestone rewards are actually kind of insane. So you see here, it's every 600 there's a new milestone reward, and it goes all the way to 30,000, and there is 10 S troop appearance medals on every single milestone reward, which means in total you can get 500 S troop appearance medals from this, which is an absurd amount. I mean, who really knows so far how easy it is to get that many contribution points? I'm assuming incredibly difficult, but those are very, very solid rewards for sure. Yeah, that's about it really. Right now in these early days, we've just got to wait on the world progression. We got to wait on the construction system to be released to make trading a bit more important, but trading is going to have to be the main focus for a little while until both these other locations get unbubbled, but mostly just people start getting more Warhorns, because one a day at the start is just a bit too slow to really expand your base enough to be able to do too much interesting stuff. So focus on trading right now, focus on the construction system when that gets released through world progression. Pressure your faction leadership to work on maximizing Warhorn production wherever possible, because that is going to be the thing that limits you the most in this event. Without Warhorns, you are not going to be able to do anything. Like, you can get all the buffs in the world from like these sorts of locations, but without the Warhorns, you're not going to be able to use those buffs whatsoever, so what's the point, right? And those are the ins and outs of day one of Glorious Battle being released. Have fun with it, guys.